Welcome to Live Daf, your online Daf Yomi Shir.
Shalom Aleichem and welcome back to today's Daf Hayemi Maseches Nazir Daf Samach Vav. We are heading into the last and final Daf of our dear Maseches Nazir. Wow, already another Siyum. So on bottom of Samach Hayim Beis, the last two words, which are Ein Soy Usfeke. Let's go back to the Mishnah for a second. Before one establishes himself as a Zav, then we give him the benefit of the doubt, we take into consideration all types of factors, all types of mitigating factors. But once he's already established as a Zav, so he experienced those emissions and he's considered Tamei, then we no longer give him any benefit of any doubt. In fact, Oinsoy, Usfeikoi, V'shichva Zarai, all these variations, all these experiences make him Tamei. What do these mean? Hamar Rava, Loitema, you shall not think. When the Mishnah says, even by a suffix, Re'iyah, he is Tamei, it doesn't mean literally suffix Chaza, he's not sure whether he did see, suffix Loi Chaza, or perhaps he did not see. In that case, of course, it would not exacerbate his situation. So we know that a Zav, once he sees Ziva once and again, he has to count 7 clean days. He's already a Zav, okay. But now he's in the middle of counting his Shiva Nekim, his 7 clean days. He's not sure, perhaps he did have another experience, perhaps not. Of course he's Tahar. Of course it doesn't cancel his Shiva Nekim, which typically happens when he has another Re'iyas Ziva in the midst of those days. If it's a suffix, of course, we don't consider it. So what then does the Mishnah mean? We are speaking that he certainly had that experience. Thing is, if he saw the liquid called Ziva, which is not your typical experience, then it is Seiser everything. Even if he's on day 7 of his Shiva Nekim, of his 7 clean days, that Ziva destroys everything. You have to start again. But if what he saw was Shiva Zera, which is a thicker type of material, it only cancels that one day. Okay, then he can resume his count. So this fellow is not sure what he saw. He found a spot of this, a spot of that. He's not sure whether it was Ziva on its own, or whether perhaps Ziva came together at once with the Shichvas Zera, in which case it mitigates its effect. It's only a 1-day stira, a 1-day cancellation. And that's the case. Elavadai Chaza, he certainly saw everything. But we're not sure whether the Ziva was independent of the Shichvas Zera or came mixed in together. Safik Machmas Shichvas Zera, whether the Ziva was on account of the Zera, in which case it doesn't have that same effect. Safik Machmas Re'iyah, or did it come separately and cancels everything that he already counted? In this case we say Kivan Sheniskak LeZiva. Once he's on the track, on the Ziva track, he's an established Zav. This is what the Mishnah means by Sfeika Tamei, even if there's some uncertainty as to the severity of his Re'iyah. We figure the worst and we give him the most stringent status. Furthermore, says the Mishnah, Shichvas Zarai is also Tmeya. So if he sees plain Shichvas Zara, we deem it Tamei. Asks the Gemara Lamai, pertaining to what is it Tamei? Ilim Lamaga, in terms of touching it, and that transmits Tumah. So one who touches it becomes Tamei. What's so special about the Shichvas Zara of a Zav? Every Shichvas Zara is Mitamei. Migara Meshichvas Zara Detar, would you assume he's worse? That his Zara has a lesser degree of Tumah than a Zara of an ordinary person? Every Zara is Mitamei through Maga, through contact. Elor, says the Gemara, rather, you know what's special about the Zav? Zara shall Zav Mitamei v'masa. Oh. In contrast to the typical Zara, which is only Mitamei through direct contact. The Zara of a Zav has an added stringency. It's even a Mitamei b'masa by carrying it, without direct contact. Is that so? Says the Gemara, Man shamas laho. The Omar, Sheikh Vazera shal Zav Mitamei b'masa. Who's the Who's the author? Who's the shita of this type of opinion? Zera of a zav is more stringent than ordinary zera. Ilay mahaitan, is it the following Tanya Desanyu? As we learned in the Brights, Rabbi Lezer Roima. Sheikh vas zara shal zav is not einoi metame b'mas. That's his shita. Rabbi Shoimer, it is metame b'mas. And he explains himself, not to say that the zera of a zav is more stringent, but practically speaking, it's impossible that there wouldn't be droplets of ziva material in that zera. It's coming from the same area. So that's why it is metami through masa. Not on account of the zera, but on account of the ziva elements within that mix. And the Gemara explains, you see, even Rabbi Yeshua's added chumrah is only on account of the ziva droplets within it. But certainly the zera on its own, even if it's coming from a zav, is not metame b'masa. So how can you suggest otherwise? You have no tana, you have no shita that holds as such. Let's go back to another pshat. Let's suggest another explanation to the Mishnah. Mishnah says once he's an established zav, even his shichva zera is tameh. What does that mean? We don't blame his ziva on the shichva zera that he experienced. So Tosfos brings a Mishnah Maseches Zavin. If a person experienced a keri, which is a flow of zera, the Gemara assumes now it sort of weakens his body, has that effect on him, and therefore you can't blame him, so to speak, for seeing, following that zera, seeing ziva later on, which is a more thinner consistency, a different type of liquid, which is an expression of bodily weakness. Well, he's weak because he had the keri, he had the zera. So any ziva within 24 hours does not make him a zav, because it's sort of blamed, it's attributed to the first experience, which weakened him. So that's your standard procedure. But once, the Mishnah is coming to tell us that once he is deemed a zav, he had ziva once, and again he's considered a zav, even if he then experiences this type of cycle, he sees the zera and then followed by a ziva again, we don't blame it on the keri, on the zera. We treat it as a re'iyas zav. Lo yimar she'ein toilin bo. We don't attribute it to the keri because he's an established zav already. And that's what the Mishnah means. Shichva zara tmeya means even if he had a re'iyah of shichva zara followed by ziva, we treat it as a regular ziva because he's an established zav. Savar of Papa made the Rava l'meima. So Papa figured, he explained, in front of Rava, I'll tell you the reason for this halacha. Aidi chulshahu the chazi, because the ziva is not your classic ziva. It's coming on account of his chulsha, because he got weakened by his first experience of experiencing shichvas zera. So therefore the ziva doesn't have the same potency in halacha. Is that the reason? So Rava, upon hearing this explanation, responded, no, that can't be the reason. Amalei Rava. Because otherwise you can have a kasha. If it's just a question of physics and biology, then what about the Mishnah which says like this, Vatanan, Ger shenis gayer mitamem miyad beziva. Suppose a non-Jew experienced zera. Then he converts. What does the Mishnah say? Any ziva that he experiences right away, even within that 24-hour period from the shichva zera sighting, that ziva is ordinary ziva and makes him tameh. Is there any greater weakness than what he did? Meaning, he had the shichva zera experience. Within a few hours, he had ziva. His body has been weakened. So if it's all a matter of just practical physicalities, then the same leniency should apply here. Blame it on the keri. It's not a true ziva. What difference does it make whether it was a yid or a guy? Says the Gemara, Ela Tanoihi. Rather, we have to re-explain this halacha. This pshat that we had, that ziva, following keri, is not metame, is exeris hakasa. It's learned based on a pasuk that when one has keri, which is an expression of zera, he has a 24-hour window within which he can't become a zav. Any ziva that he experiences is not considered a ziva, it's not metame. It's exeris hakasav, not based on chulsha and weakness, and therefore we can fully understand the halacha of the ger, because today's ziva, post-conversion ziva, doesn't connect to the pre-conversion experience. It doesn't have that exemption, that p'tur. Now, how do we understand the Mishnah? The Mishnah said that before he becomes a zav, the shechva zara is not tummy. After he's niskak leziva, shechva zara is also tmeya. We were trying to, figure out an explanation. What does the Mishnah have in mind? We figured one pshat, then we proposed another pshat, and now the Gemara is going back on that. Right? The most recent pshat was, once he's a zav, so then even if he has shechva zera followed by ziva, we ignore the shechva zera. The ziva is mitzame. No, says the Gemara, actually not. It's exeris hakasav, it's halach in the Torah, that if there is a shechva zera experience followed by ziva, we ignore the ziva. And it's irrespective of whether this fellow was already a zav or not. Doesn't matter. So then, when the Mishnah does make that differentiation, before he became a zav, after he became a zav, there's a difference in terms of shechva zara. What does it mean? What is it referring to? If not this halach. Says the Gemara, it's referring to literal shechva zara, a plain case that a fellow saw shechva zara, and the question is whether it's metame. Now, it's certainly metame b'maga, but the question is whether it's also going to have the chumrah of being metame b'masa, and that depends on where he's holding. Ordinarily, shechva zara is only metame b'maga, but once a person is an established zav, he's been labeled as a zav, and then he has shechva zara. That shechva zara, yes, will have an added stringency, even by carrying it without directly touching it. Tumas masa will affect the carrier, and that's a chiddush attributed to shechva zara strictly of a zav. Ella tanoihi. In fact, we have a machlekes tanoim. To what extent we apply this halacha? Which halacha? That the shechva zara of a zav has added stringency, added tumah. The sanya shechva zara shel zav. If a zav happens to see zara, metame b'masa kol me'es leis. There's a special chumrah. We're going to see it's based on a pasuk that if he sees the shechva zara within 24 hours of his ziva experience, it has the added stringency, it's metame b'masa. Nothing to do with the fact that there might be some droplets of ziva mixed in. No. It's inherently metame b'masa. Rabbi Yehuda, it's metame b'masa, but only until the end of that day. But my kamifli, what's this machlekes based on? But the Shmuel, based on Shmuel's interpretation. The Shmuel Rami. Shmuel presented an apparent contradiction in the Pesukim pertaining to this halach. The pasuk says, "Ki yeh b'cha ish asher lo yeh tar." You have a fellow amongst you who's not tar. He's already tummy. He's a zav. Mikrei leila. Then he experiences a nighttime experience, meaning an emission of zera. So the pasuk is telling us that it's tamei. Even b'masa, because this is a special shechva zera coming from a zav, but it's only applicable if the zera was experienced within that day until nightfall. Uksiv, then we have another pasuk that it stretches for 24 hours. Lifnais erev. Lifnais is a lashon of nightfall, and erev again nightfall. Basically 24 hours, from one night to the other. Right? So it's a 24-hour time period from the time of seeing the ziva. Within that time period, any keri has an additional stringency. It's mitame b'masa. So this difference in drasha is the basis for the previous machlekes between Tanakam, who says shechva zera of a zav is metame for 24 hours, and according to Rabbi Yossi, only within the day, meaning if a person's he had a ziva experience and he had zera within 24 hours, it's metame v'masa. According to the other shita, only if it's within that day until the end of the day. Says the Gemara, the shita that works for 24 hours, and diek lifnais erev. He focuses on the words lifnais erev from one evening to the other, 24-hour slot. The other shita that's within that day, diek mikre leila. Pasuk describes it as a nighttime experience, meaning until the end of that day, until nightfall. Uman da'amam lifnais erev. Haksiv mikre leila. So what does each shita do with the other pasuk? The one who says from lifnais erev, what does he do with mikre leila? Says the Gemara, Amala, he tells you urcha de keri lemasya belelya. It's just the ordinary, typical experience that the pasuk is describing. Keri is masya belelya, comes during the nighttime. And that's the typical circumstance, and therefore the pasuk refers to it as such. But in reality, the halacha is applicable up until 24 hours from that ziva. Now, actually, the Rosh learns the drasha of Mikre Leila works as follows: that we're speaking that he had the ziva, beginning of the night. And during that same night, he had the keri, the zera as well. The pasuk's telling you that within the same night, it's attributed to each other, and the keri gets that added chumrah, that added tumas masa. So either they both happen during the same day or during the same night. Whereas the other shita works with 24-hour time duration. Okay, so perhaps for added clarity, let's just review briefly the steps in the Gemara. The Mishnah spoke about a fellow who was an established zav. In that case, he had added chumrais. Sveika is tamei, Rav explained. Even if there's some uncertainty in terms of his re'iyas zayv later on, we give it the chumrah, and we treat it like a regular re'iyas zayv. The Mishnah says, shechva zara is tamei. What does that mean? For maga, everybody's zara is tamei b'maga. Well, for masa, we found one shita, it's metame b'masa because there are some droplets of ziva within it. And that's why if a zav has zera, it's tummy, but not because of the zera itself, which again seems to be inconsistent with the lashon of the Mishnah, that zera of the zav is tummy b'mas, is tummy. So the next shot was, we're speaking about the halacha as follows: that if you had the zera and then ziva, we give you a pass. We don't treat it as ziva; we attribute it to the keri. And the Gemara figured it's because the body was weakened. Well, then we can't really understand the other halacha of why doesn't it apply to the ger? The ger who had the keri before, being as gair, and then the ziva later. We say he's tummy. If it's a matter of his body having gotten weakened, then what's the difference whether he was a guy when he had the first experience or a yid? And also, basically, it's not really going to be consistent with our Mishnah, because if it's a matter of chulshas haguf, then what's the difference whether he's an established zav or not an established zav? And the Mishnah seems to differentiate between the two. Bottom line is, when he had carry, it weakens his goof, and we don't hold the ziva that followed that carry against him. So bottom line is, the Gemara is going to sort of retract from that. Then in fact, this halacha that is ziva, following a carry is not matame, is exeris akasav, and then we can understand it only applies to when both experiences happened when he was a yid. So what then is the pshat now, Mishnah? The other way around. He had ziva and then he had keri. We have a pasuk. That keri has additional tumas masa, provided it happened within close proximity to the riyas hazoiv, either within a day or within 24 hours. And that's the chiddush of our Mishnah. That once he's an established zav, then anything that he sees, even zera, has additional tumah. It's like the keri of a zav. And therefore it's also metame b'masa. In contrast to ordinary zera, which is not metame b'masa. Continues the Mishnah. We all know that Shimshon was a Nazir. The pasuk clearly says so. What about Shmuel Hanavi? We have a machlekes. Nazir hoye Shmuel. Shmuel Hanavi, in fact, was also a Nazir. Kedivrei Rabbi Norai. That's Rabbi Norai's opinion. How does he know? Shenemar. When Chana davened to Hashem to give her a successful child, she said, "U moira layaver al reishay." Now, what does this word umoira mean? Says Rabbi Norai, we have Gzera Shabbat. Nemar b'Shimshon umoira. We have the same lashon by Shimshon. Umoira layal al reishay. V'nemar b'Shmuel umoira. We have the same lashon umoira by Shmuel. We connect it to ma moira ha'amura b'Shimshon nazar. Just as the word moira by Shimshon describes Nazirus. And Rashi in Sefer Shoftim explains, moira is a lashon of the razor, which shaves his hair, which casts away the hair. So Shimshon may not make use of this moira liyal reishay, because he's a Nazir. Af moira amura b'Shmuel nazir. Likewise, the word moira, moira liyal reishay, is referring to refraining from haircutting. So he's a Nazir. Af moira amura b'Shmuel indicates that he's a Nazir. Rabbi Yossi disagrees. V'alo moira elo shel basar v'dam. All she was davening was Hashem should protect him, should give him strength and confidence. She had no fear, no moira from any basar v'dam, only from Hashem. That's all it means, unrelated to Nazirus. Amalei Rabbi Norai responds, you can't suggest as such, because we find that he did experience fear from a human being. The pasuk says, "Vayemer Shmuel." Shmuel responds to Hashem when he sent him on a mission. He says, "I can't. How can I go anoint David HaMelech? V'shama shol v'aragani v'shol hears this. He's going to kill me." Apparently, shekvar hoya olav moira shel basar v'dam. Apparently, he did. He was affected somewhat, gripped with moira, with fear from even a basar v'dam. So apparently, when the pasuk speaks of moira loyal reishay, he'll have no moira. It certainly had to come true. So apparently it's referring to something else entirely different. A razor will not pass over his head. He will be a Nazir. So here we had a machlekes between Rabbi Norai and Rabbi Yossi. As such, the Gemara will present another topic of discussion which features a machlekes between these same Tanaim. Amalei Rav, l'chiebrei. Rav instructs his son Chia, chatoif uberich. You should be a zaris. You should be diligent. When you're concluding a meal and there's going to be a birchas hamazon with somebody you might see the whole crowd, you try to be the one to be the mavarech rather than benefiting and listening and being yotze. Because it's greater to actually say and to make the bracha than listening and saying amen. V'chein amalei Rav Huna l'Rabba brei. Rav Huna instructed his son Rabba as well. Chadayf avrich. Make an effort to be the one to make the bracha, rather than just listening and answering amen in acknowledgement. Says the Gemara, remember the mevarach adab, to mean to say that the one who makes the bracha stands higher than the one acknowledging. Vatani, you have a brayso the other way around. Rabbi Yossi Aimer, God lo eina amen. Yosim min mevarach. In terms of comparing the mevarach and the eina amen, guess who's greater? The eina amen. He concludes, he acknowledges, he He confirms the bracha. It gets greater schar than the one making the bracha himself. And here's Rabbi Rai once again, actually backing up Rabbi Yesi. Hashamayim, it's lashon of shvua. I swear in the name of Shemayim. Kachu, in fact, this is so. We see it all the time during war. Teda, look, I'll prove it to you. Sharei gul yorim. Look, the plain foot soldiers, misgarbu Muhammad, they instigate war. Right, they get it going. But who actually wins the battle? V'giboyim noitzchen. Afterwards come the real giants, the real powerful men, and they actually bring about surrender. They win the war. So the Mavarach, he's like the Gul Yarim. He just gets things started. He initiates. But who actually confirms, acknowledges, packages it together? That's the one who answers Amen. So this is inconsistent with the Amoraim, who seem to hold otherwise. Tell them, well, you're right. There are two ways to look at it. Tanoi, it's actually Machlekes Tanaim, the Sanya, Echad the Mavarach, Vechad the Oina Amen b'mashma. Both the Mavarach and the one answering Amen are included in the Bracha and Tehillim in the Pasuk, which says, Gadol Hashem iti, u'neroim mashma yachtav. Give Gadlus, attribute greatness to Hashem, that's the one who makes the Bracha, who acknowledges and testifies to Hashem being the source of all existence. And then the words u'neroim mashma yachtav is referring to all of us together, acknowledging, answering Amen. So everybody's included in this lofty experience. Ella, but shememarin l'mavarach tchila. Who gets greater schar? The one who makes the bracha. He gets the schar first. He's superior to the one who answering Amen. So here we go. Machlekes Tanaim. This brisa says the Mavarach stands higher, and the previous brisa held the Aina Amen is the one who actually actualizes the bracha and gets a greater schar. Amar Blazer, Amar Chanina, Talmid Chacham, even if you're vying to be the Mavarech and being Zoris to grab the opportunity, but civilized, peaceful. Talmid Chachamim Marbim Shalom Ba'olam. In fact, they increase peace and harmony in the world. Only they have the ability to reconcile the physical and the material together with the spiritual, and reveal to us that in fact everything is just a potential ruchnius. We have to discover the ruchnius potential in everything. That's what Torah teaches us, and that's what is propagated by Talmidei Chachamim. Shenamar v'chol banayich limudei Hashem v'rav shloim banayich, and some conclude with the words al tikrei banayich, instead of them being your sons, ela boinayich, they build you. You know, there's a wonderful story with the Chavetz Chaim. His own granddaughter left the fold. She was influenced by the Enlightenment movement, and she went and lived in a big city, and she used to come back and visit her grandfather. So once, during one of these visits, she came back to Radin, this little shanty town. She came into the Zayda, the Chavetz Chaim, and she said, Zayda, what are you doing sitting here in the darkness? Come, experience the light. Come, I'll show you the big cities, large, tall buildings. You don't know what you're missing. Chavetz Chaim turned to her and said, look, you're extolling the grand architecture, the buildings, and she was telling him about the airplanes they've invented. Look, there are planes flying, there are buildings rising to the sky. Chavetz Chaim says, one day will come, there will be a day when those glamorous airplanes will be dropping bombs and destroying those glamorous looking edifices. Those things don't last forever. But over here, you know what we do? We don't build buildings. Mirboy and mention. We build people. We develop personalities. And people last forever. Alter kirbonayich. Ella boinayich. This is an eternal edifice, an eternal structure. Boinayich. Okay, so in summation, we learned about the Zav and the extra Chumrah regarding the Shechva Zera of a Zav. Shimshon HaGibur was certainly a Nazir. Shmuel, we have a Machlekes. And we had a discussion regarding what's greater, the Mevarach or the Oina Amen. May Hashem help us. Bez Hashem, learn many, many more Masechtas together. Besimcha, with Tuv Levav, with lots of B'suras Tevos. Ad Bias Geil Tzedek, Meher B'Meinu Amen, Hadran Lach HaKusim, the Slika Lach Masechas Nazir, Mazel Tov. Mazel Tov, it was truly a pleasure learning together. May Hashem help us learn many more Masechtas together. Amen.
I know you know sis the zoisato yiro ki lonu was the yiro oh is the yiro no you know sis the zoisato yiro ki lonu was the yiro I know you know sis the zoisato yiro ki lonu was the yiro oh is the yiro no you know sis the zoisato yiro ki lonu was the yiro No, you know what's in the